Welcome to the second episode of Football Sidelines, where I interview all sorts of people that live, breathe, and eat football. So for today, our guest is Coach Cristo. So Coach Cristo, tell us a little bit about your story, your experience, your journey, where it has taken you.
Hi, so I'm Coach Cristo. I was born in the States, but fell in love with soccer, football, while I was living over in Greece. I lived in Greece, I went to Greece every summer as a kid, always would play soccer in the park and stuff. When I was 11, my family moved over to Greece to live there more permanently. I played for a first division academy for a couple of years, from about when I was 12 until about 16. Then I joined a men's team at about 16, played there for a while, played as high as the third division in Greece, had a very, very brief stint at a Division I college in the US, then went over to the UK to play in some lower divisions there for teams like Alsager Town, Eastwood Hanley, a couple others as well. Played for my university futsal team as well, kind of started that. I was there the first year we had a futsal team, and we were very successful. During my playing career, I also got into coaching. I've been coaching for almost half my life. I'm 27 now. I think the first official coaching job I had was when I was 14, and I volunteered for a town team, literally right down the street actually from where I am now. So I volunteered for the town team, figured out that I really loved coaching as well. So since then I've done a lot of coaching. I ran a summer camp myself when I was 14. I started coaching in England when I moved over there, got my coaching badges in England, moved back to the States because I had a couple, serious injuries, and playing wasn't quite as important as coaching at the time. So I moved back to the States, started coaching club and for some school teams in the US, and yeah, it's been great.
That's great. So if I get this right, you started off with Greece at the first division academy team.
Yeah.
For 16 years, and then you went on to England, and then you went to the US.
Yeah. So obviously it's a little bit jumbled up. That's like the basic timeline. In between that, in between Greece and England, I was in the States for a little bit. And obviously I have family in the States, so I'm back. I was back most summers for at least a month in between there too. And obviously, it's all a bit jumbled up. That's the general timeline though.
Oh, that's totally fine. So you said you got into coaching very young, right?
Yeah.
So do you have any advice for people like myself that would like to get into coaching in the future?
Yeah. So I think I'm actually thinking of doing a little video on this or something at some point, because I think a lot of athletes kind of they tunnel vision on what they're doing. Obviously, you need to be very dedicated. Obviously, you need to work very hard, but how much are you training a day? Like if you say at the absolute most you'd be doing, you're training like 5 hours or something. Obviously, if you've school and stuff, that's great. That's going to eat up a lot of your time. But most people have time to do other things. You probably have an hour and a half, 2 hours, 3 hours a week to volunteer as a coach for a town team, or a club team, or even organize some pickup games or something. And all of that, it's a great way to get in the door. Obviously, when I was 14, I was I wasn't getting paid for the position I had as a coach. I was actually assisting my dad, who was the head coach of the team, with a friend as well. But I was there every session. It was only, I think it was an hour twice a week, and then a game on the weekends. I was playing while I was doing this. I was doing my individual training while I was doing this. I was going to school while I was doing this. But even just a little bit, just to get you in the door, is so important. That would be my first thing I would say, is volunteer a little bit of your time. Even if it's just an hour a week, just to get in the door. And then from there, I would also say that getting your coaching badges is important. There are some issues with how the system is set up and all of that. But if you can figure out paying or maybe having the club you volunteer with or a team you coach with helping you to pay to get your coaching badges, I think it is super beneficial for people who are looking to get into coaching. And it's a great thing to have, especially later down the line if it becomes your job.
Yeah, listen, I'm glad you said that, because the way I've been thinking about it, a lot of like young kids, it's either like I make it pro or I quit soccer, Like even for me, like if I don't make it pro, like I'm not saying I'm not going to make it pro, like demotivate myself, but if I don't make it, I think I'm still going to try to have a life revolved around that, either like my content creation or like having a job and then playing soccer on the side every day, things like that to keep me going.
Yeah, I think it's like this all or nothing mentality it's a little bit toxic, because like I understand not wanting to say like, what if I don't make it? But at the same time, you have to be a little bit realistic. And I think you can believe in yourself while also saying, okay, I'm 18 or 19. I should probably have college in the back of my mind.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll give it a go for a couple more years, but I should be thinking about what I want to do next. And I'm not going to, lie and say that I've always been, very well-rounded and balanced in all of the things that I do. I know that, the first time I got injured, it was a struggle for me to even watch games because it had been so long since I had played, and it was such a horrible experience that I didn't even want to watch soccer. Without being able to play, it was really, really tough for me. But, as I matured, got a little bit older and wiser, there's so many ways to enjoy being part of of this community, and, so many ways to, be involved other than just being a player. Obviously, being a player is great. You can be a coach, you can be a fan, you can create content, you can, whatever you want to do. There's so many ways to be involved, and playing is just one of them.
Yeah, for sure. If I can go back to that all or nothing mindset, it is pretty toxic. I'm not going to lie. I think the main reason people like it so much and they don't like the other option is like, if you have a plan B, it means that you don't believe in yourself. And it means like you think you're going to fail, so it's bad. But I don't think that's it at all. Like I made a post on this. I said like, if your plan B doesn't affect your plan A, then like go for it,
Yeah, for sure. I 100% agree, because like, it goes back to what I was saying earlier. How hard do you need to work? You need to work very hard.
Yeah.
But you're not working 24/7.
Yeah.
That's like, it's not what's going to happen. What is the most you would train in a day? Let's say you have a 2-hour team session. Let's say you do maybe an hour session or an hour and a half session by yourself, in the morning. Let's say you also have a resistance training session that day. That's another hour. So it's that 4.5 hours. Yeah. Let's say you do some mental training, 5 hours, another hour of maybe like, watching footage or something like that, 6 hours. Like that's not all you do in a day. So what else are you doing? Are you going to school? Okay, there's your other thing that you're doing. If you're not going to school though, what is what else are you doing? You have time to work on getting your coaching badges. You have time to at least look into if you want to go to university or whatever else. You have time to do other things. You have time to create content. Which I think is, can be super, super important. You have time to get involved in other things. It's not like you can work as hard as you possibly can to, pursue your goal, your A, but, there is still time. All right. Yeah. And, it's up to you how you use that time.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm happy you brought up like the time schedule, because I was watching this documentary. This podcast about Tim Grover, which you know who he is, right? The trainer of like Kobe and Michael Jordan. And he was saying like when you're dedicated to something this big, some things have to take a back seat. Like if you want to pursue soccer and still like have a backup plan to go to university, like maybe you don't have time to play like video games or watch your favorite Netflix show for like 2 hours a day. Like some things
Yeah.
do have to take a back seat, and you have to be okay with that.
Yeah. I mean, it's all about priorities, right?
Yeah.
Like, you know, obviously what you want to do most, that's going to come first, but there are
Yeah.
other things, you know, and I think I also just want to say that, like, I think that like your plan B and C and D and whatever else, they can support your plan A
Yeah.
even. Like, I think that getting into coaching helped me be a better player. I think, you know, spending 2-3 hours a week coaching made me better as a player, and helped me, you know, stay involved in the game. You know, because maybe if I had gotten injured and hadn't been able to play for like well over a year, if I hadn't been involved in coaching and all these other things, maybe I wouldn't have gotten back into the sport. You know, maybe I would have lost touch with it, or at
Yeah.
least lost touch with it more than I did. So, you know, the other things, yes, it's about priorities, and yeah, you have to
Yeah.
make sacrifices to work hard. Whatever your goals are, you're going to have to make sacrifices if you
Yeah.
want to succeed.
For sure.
But it's not. I think all or nothing is not.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
not
For
quite
sure.
the
I
right way to
agree.
look at it, for sure.
Yeah. So we're gonna move on from this now. So I want to ask you how important the mental side of the game is in sports, because I know you're a big fan of the mental side.
Yeah. So for me, it would have been the most important thing as a player,
Okay.
because the thing that I struggled with most was lacking confidence, feeling, you know, extreme nerves before any time that I had to compete. So for me, it was the most important thing. Now, I don't think that it's the most important thing for every athlete out there.
Yeah,
I
for sure.
think that, yeah, I think that for some athletes, you know, what do you need to do to succeed? Some athletes need to get fit. Some
Yeah.
athletes need to, you know, just be better athletes. They need to be
Yeah,
better
it's like
technically.
it's not the same thing
Yeah,
for every athlete. It differs for
yeah, for
players.
sure. And so I think, you know, it's important to know, you know, some players will need very little mental training on top of their, you know, technical and physical work.
Yeah.
But some players, that needs to be, you know, a main focus.
Yeah.
And for me, uh, I can only really think of one coach who ever really discussed this stuff in any depth with me at all. And even that, you know, we were focused a lot more on the other sides of the game. Um, so it, yeah, it's like I said, it's not the most important thing for every player,
Yeah.
but I think for some players, it is the most important thing. And
Yeah.
I think it really can benefit. I think it could benefit any athlete. And the reason that I talk about it so much is because I don't see other people talk about it enough. Whenever a coach, or even, you know, there are some really, really good content creators out there,
Yeah,
but
for sure.
a lot of the time when I see like motivational sports content, for someone who isn't confident, they're not telling them anything except believe in yourself, be more confident. And it's like, okay,
Yeah.
sure, but if I could just be more confident, I wouldn't have this issue. What are
Yeah.
some practical steps I can take? And that's why, you know, I like to, obviously I do, you know, post videos where I'm trying to just, you know, wake someone up and get them to believe in
Yeah. Yeah.
themselves. But at the same time, I like to give athletes things that they can actually do, because it's not just about, you know, just believing in yourself. You can't think your
Yeah.
way into being confident. It takes work. So, you know, that's why I talk all the time about, you know, self-talk scripts, instructional sets, imagery, meditation, all of these things, you know, taking 5 deep breaths, singing a little song in your head when you're stressed, all these things that, you know, they're more like practical things that you can actually do that have some evidence behind them, that will help you either deal with nerves or be more confident, or just play more freely, or whatever, you know, whatever it is.
Yeah, for sure. Listen, what you're saying makes absolute sense because I was like, when I was like 3 years younger, I did hear about the mental side of things. Like you have to be very mentally ready. And like you said, I was like, okay, I believe in myself. That's it. I'm good now.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I realized like you really have to dig deep and really think that you believe in yourself to actually make it work.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
like when I was playing at this other team where I had all my friends and I was comfortable and I had very good performances. And then I moved up to this academy level, which was way higher than my last level. And that's where my mentality completely dropped. Like my confidence dropped, my self-belief dropped. And I didn't really think it was those things. I thought I just wasn't technically ready. And once I actually started like mentally training, that's where I saw the difference.
yeah, yeah. I mean, like, obviously, you need to keep improving technically.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
need
for
to
sure.
keep getting, faster, stronger. Uh, all of those things are important. But you could be a great player. And, if you're underperforming because you don't believe in yourself and you're just, you're a different player when you feel
Yeah,
confident and you're a different player when
I
you
agree.
don't. Like I saw a clip, I think it was about Deli Alley, and I think it was one of the British pundits talking about it. Might have been Shearer, I don't know. It might have been Keane, I think, and he was talking about how you don't become a bad player overnight, but we see all the time. We see players who were phenomenal. All of a
Yeah,
sudden, like where are they? What are they doing?
yeah,
Looks like they can't even take a first touch. Looks like they can't even run or something. And we see this like all the time. How many incredible players have we seen just drop um, all of a sudden out of nowhere? And it's not like something happened to them where they can't control the ball or they can't play.
yeah,
I really think that a lot of the time, that is the mental side of the game. And it's something that like uh, I think it's not easy,
yeah, for
but
sure.
it's not focused on enough. And I think even just a little bit, I've seen players go from not playing well to adding 10 minutes where they sit alone in a room and listen to music and don't think about anything else. I've seen that take players who were really struggling and make them, much, much better.
Yeah.
So, it doesn't take so much. If you take, 10, 15, 20 minutes a day and work on this stuff, it will make a difference.
Yeah, for sure. If I can just recap that. So, what are like, I'm sure you mentioned, but could you mention them again? Like, what are some ways that athletes can increase their mental performance?
Yeah. So one thing that you can do on your own without any help at all is, well, actually, there's a few things you can do like that. First would be one of my favorites, which is meditation. I know a lot of, especially young players, especially young male players, switch off as soon as they hear meditation. They're like, I'm not doing that. But it doesn't have to be, you go outside and sit under a tree and clear your thoughts or whatever. Go sit somewhere quiet, put on some headphones, listen to some music that you find relaxing for 10 minutes, and try not to think about anything else.
Yeah,
It's just taking 10, 15, 20 minutes a day to, where no one has any expectations of you, even yourself, You're not expecting yourself to do anything except sit there and relax. Other things that I've used with players. So I like doing 5 deep breaths. This is something that I borrowed from, something not in the realm of sports. But basically, it's just whenever you're stressed. So it can be in life in general, could be on the field too if you get a chance. Whenever you feel stressed, just close your eyes, take 5 deep breaths. Because we're all gonna miss chances. We're all gonna feel stressed in life in general. But it's very easy to overreact. So you miss, it's the end of the world. I'm not going to be able to play well the rest of this game. Everything is ruined. Or I think everyone has that moment where something very small goes wrong, just like in their daily life, like they, I don't know, spill their drink or something, and it's just been one of those days where everything's gone wrong,
yeah,
and you do something really smaller, you stub your toe or something, and it's like, I can't even deal with this anymore today. Just close your eyes, take 5 deep breaths, and, bring yourself back and realize that, okay, I overreacted a little bit. It's not the end of the world. It's going to be okay. And then another technique that this is my favorite one, which is, I was taking a penalty once in a cup final. And this is like the moment that made me realize that the mental side of the game was so important. And so I was taking the penalty. I volunteered to take the penalty. I was super confident, walked up, put the ball down on the spot, and all of a sudden it was like, what is going on? My legs were felt like jelly. I was dizzy, couldn't even stand up really. It was crazy. And of course I missed the penalty. No, there was no question.
You guys
there.
end up losing that?
No, we actually won.
Oh, okay. That's good then.
So yeah, I know it probably would have been 10 times worse if we had lost. But even then, sure. It still felt like I let my team down and didn't want to have to deal with that again. So yeah, what I do now with players is I use this specifically on penalties. You can also use it, in general. It's kind of similar to the 5 deep breaths technique. But what I have them do is I have them sing a song or whistle or hum, maybe sing the song in their head, not out loud, and something simple, and just a simple tune or something to get their mind off of those negative thoughts. Because obviously, if you're thinking, what if I miss, what if I miss, what if I miss, that's not going to help you at all. But at the same time, trying to think of positive things can go wrong very quickly. So if you're trying to think like, I'm definitely going to score, I'm not going to miss, but what if I miss? Yeah. Whereas I'd rather you think of something completely different so that you're not, so that it's not going to turn into bad thoughts because, I'm whistling Yellow Submarine. Like that's not going to turn into, that's mine.
That works.
But that's not going to turn into negative thoughts.
Yeah.
And then I also love making scripts for players. So imagery scripts, self-talk scripts, instructional sets, they're all a little bit different. But basically the idea is, and you can use these in the build up to a game or just whenever you want to. But basically the idea is kind of similar to the, to singing a song where you don't want to, if I tell you, so a lot of people say, do positive self-talk. They say, do positive self-talk, go away, sit down and be like, I'm a great player. I'm going to win this game. I'm good at this. I'm good at that. I'm doing this. But it's very easy, at least I found, for those thoughts, or like if you're thinking about a game and trying to go through all the good things you're going to do in a game, what if you think about something negative? Because it's very easy to do that. Our thoughts get, I don't know how other people's minds work, but, a lot of us get distracted very easily. So if you're trying to think, okay, I received the pass, I played it there. Oh no, it wasn't a good pass. Like I like to write scripts because I want to make sure that those thoughts you're thinking, your positive self-talk doesn't turn into negative self-talk.
Is that basically, sorry to
yeah, no, that's fine.
Is that basically like visualization?
So, imagery, visualization, that's kind of, that's one type of script that I write. So it'll be like taking you through like maybe the warm up, the game, how it goes. So that kind of helps you feel like, okay, I know I'm going to play well. I just thought about this for 5 minutes. I went through the whole game, what I'm going to do. So, now I feel confident. And then self-talk scripts are usually a little bit more general, basically just talking about how good of a player you are. So I'll tailor it to a specific person. I'll talk about what they've accomplished. I talk about their playing style. I'll talk about what they're going to do in the future. And those athletes can use kind of like almost as meditation if they want to, whenever they're feeling a little bit down. Yeah. Imagery, usually I'll use like in the build up to a game to, maybe a big game or a trial or something like that, to make an athlete feel like, of course I'm going to succeed here because, I already know exactly what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
And then instructional sets, kind of similar. I found that for most athletes, either imagery works better or instructional sets work better. And instructional sets are, instead of telling you kind of what's going to happen, like through imagery, they kind of, it's like almost like telling you exactly what you're going to do in a little bit more of a direct way. So you are going to do this. You are going to succeed this way. This is how hard you're going to work. This is how dedicated you're going to be. So I found that I prefer instructional sets for myself. Imagery has been helpful for a lot of people that I've worked with. It's not my favorite for me personally. So like I said, individual training, maybe not all of these strategies will work for every person. I'm actually sure that they won't, but different strategies will work. You try meditation, doesn't work. That's fine. You've also, come up with a self-talk script that you can, read to yourself, or maybe it's a video you can watch. You've also, tried 5 deep breaths. All of these things, some of them are going to work. Not all of them, but some of them will work. And the ones that work, they'll have an impact on how you play.
Yeah, if I can add on to that, for me, what has been working is imagery or visualization. So what I usually do is I just basically sit and kind of meditate, and then in my mind, I just like I make it think like I'm at a field that I recognize, and then I'm playing, and then it's just me performing very well and stuff. So yeah, I think like the first 3 days you keep doing that, it becomes hard because you keep like going out of focus, and then you have to come back in. But as you do it more, it becomes a lot easier to just let it play like a real game, like it's real life.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
so now I'll keep going if you want to say something.
No, it just, it's it's going to take a little bit of time, just like with anything. You're not going to become good at meditating or something overnight. It takes a little bit of time.
Yeah. So the next topic, which I'm pretty uneducated about because I haven't done it, which is the playing gap between like North America and Europe. Like you've played there at those levels, right?
Yeah.
So like how big is the gap between Europe and North America in terms like the quality of the overall players?
So in terms of individual players, I'd say it's not as big of a gap as people think. When you put teams together, so even if, let's say, the best team I played for in England or the best team I played in Greece, even if the individual players, if you separated them out, they're probably better than players I've played with in the States. But when you put them together in the team, the gap widens like astronomically. I think that it's just a different philosophy over there. And yeah, so I think the US has good players. Obviously, there are problems with the system that definitely need to be fixed. And I think we could have a lot more better players if things weren't so much about money all the time. Obviously, I've talked about pay to play before, and I'm not a fan of it. I don't think that we're going to have leagues like in Europe, but I do think things could be a lot better in the States. And I think we can develop a lot better players. But the biggest gap for me in watching teams in the States, playing for teams in the States, and then doing the same in Greece, in Europe. I trained with some competitive teams in Spain and Germany as well. And the gap when you put those players together on a field and actually play. So, maybe you could take one player, some players from the States and take them over there and they wouldn't be bad players, but the team levels are so much higher. Like I don't know, trying to think, like my team in the 3rd division in Greece. I wonder how well we would do in the States, because I have a suspicion that it would be better than a lot of teams in the States. What's the so it's MLS? What are the second and third divisions? Is it
I don't know about US. I think it's like USL and then
USL?
like
Yeah, and then USL
UPSL
two.
maybe. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
something like that.
So like I have a suspicion that a team, even in lower levels in England, or even Greece, or Germany, France, Italy, um, would do like so much better. Not necessarily because the players are better, but because the team is better. This is something I talked about a little bit with the men's national team, and I haven't watched them, an insane amount. I prefer to watch other games most of the time, but I think a lot of players focus on the individual players so much, whereas I think we have decent enough players to compete at a high level. I don't think anyone would dispute that. We have good
Yeah,
players in decent leagues
yeah, for
in
sure.
Europe, right? And they hold their own individually.
Yeah,
As a unit, though, hopefully they'll do better.
yeah,
They had their big win against Mexico a couple weeks ago, so hopefully they'll do better going forward.
yeah,
But I really do think that as a unit, it hasn't come together for them, and that's what I see with a lot of teams in the States. I saw something about was it Mueller who said something about the I'm sure you've seen it. It was all over Instagram, that quote about how in Germany we don't have stars. We all play for each other, and that's why we're successful. Something like that.
yeah,
And I think that mentality, maybe it's more of a German mentality than it is for some other countries in Europe. But I think if you take that and bring that over here, where I think the individual players, from what I've seen, even from very, very young players, all the way up to 18-year-olds, all the way to through high school, college, professional players. I think the focus is on individuals.
yeah,
And now I agree that if you have a 10-year-old, you're not going to be like, okay, let's become the best team we can be. You're going to be like, okay, let's become the best players we can be, because
yeah,
you're not going to be playing together in 5 years. I want to help you be successful, whatever teams you play on in the future. Now I understand that. I work with younger kids as well, and I'm not focused on making them work exactly perfectly with each other. I take the individual development, but at the same time, as a player, no matter what team you're playing on, when you're on the field in a game, your goal is to help the team. Okay. And, sometimes you make sacrifices to your own performance or your own personal performance to be able to do that. And that's just not something I see as much in the States as I see, even when I was a kid playing in Greece, it was all about the team. I remember my coach, we had a very successful season with the academy that I played for. And my coach did like this big interview in a magazine back when people read magazines. And he said his big quote that was like, in the big words was,
yeah,
it was essential that these players understood that to help themselves, they had to help the team. And I think that gets to the essence of it, is that when I'm telling players that they need to be better teammates, when I'm telling players that you need to pass the ball, you
yeah,
need to support your teammates, you need to put yourself in positions, even if you don't end up getting the ball.
yeah,
um, it's not about helping the team as much as it is, well, for the younger players, it's about helping you, because whatever
yeah,
team you play for, as you play at higher and higher levels, those bad habits that you built of never passing because you knew your teammate was going to mess up,
yeah,
or not putting yourself in good positions because you knew you weren't going to, be passed to, or you knew your team was going to lose the ball. You need to just make good decisions and be a good teammate, because at the end of the day, that will help you when you go play for a higher level. And in the States, I see a lot of focus on individuals, and the team kind of ethos gets lost a little bit, I would say.
Yeah. I'm glad you brought up the point of like not passing to your teammates and having bad habits. I think like in the lower leagues, maybe you can get away with like you dribble around, maybe you pass once, you get it back. You don't pass, you just shoot it and it goes in. But like I think as you go in the higher level, that's gonna catch up on you and it's gonna prevent you from succeeding.
Yeah. I mean, like, we've seen this in the years a couple times. The goal Cristiano Ronaldo scored the other day, tap in. Because the other player one-on-one with the keeper and chose to pass to him. You do that every single time. Doesn't matter if you're not passing to Cristiano Ronaldo. So I made a TikTok the other day where there were two passes that gave their teammates semi-open nets to score instead of the player shooting themselves. In those situations, it's the right decision to pass. Doesn't matter who you pass to, you pass there every single time. And that kind of just illustrates that. I think that to help yourself be a better player, you need to be a team player, because it's a team sport and you won't go anywhere alone. The best way to succeed as a player is to be on a successful team. So make your team successful.
For sure.
That's some of the best advice I can give to players.
You're making some really great points here. And that really opened up my mind that it's not like the individual player that's making the difference, it's the whole team in Europe and USA. One thing that I wanted to mention is the pay-to-play system. Now, listen, I'm for sure against it. Like, I think it should be fixed as soon as possible, even though we might not see it be fixed that soon. But I think a lot of kids are trying to use it as an excuse, like, oh, it's pay-to-play, I'm not even going to try. Like, it doesn't matter, I'm not going to make it. But I think there's always like a way you can try to make it. Like you said, go to tryouts, and if they can't offer you discounts, just don't go. Or if they can offer you discounts, then move. You made the team.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's definitely tough.
For sure.
Because some players don't have the money to play for club teams, and if you can't play for a club team, it's very hard to be successful in the States. So getting on a club team is a priority, and club teams cost a decent amount of money. But what I said about how go try out for the club team, wait for them to tell you that they want you, and then tell them, look, I can't pay this much, or I can't pay at all. And if they say no, okay, make sure you've tried out for 5, 6, 7, 8, as many club teams as you can in your area, because there are a lot of club teams. And most players who go to a lot of tryouts and are quality players, most clubs will want them, and they'll be willing to make an exception for a couple players. So using it as an excuse, like any player has excuses. Cristiano Ronaldo could have had excuses. Messi could have said, oh, I'm never going to grow taller than 5'6" or 5'5", or however tall he is. Why? I'm not going to be a pro player. I'll just give up now. Everyone has excuses. And some of them are worse than others, and sometimes it is really, really hard. But I'm sorry, I don't care about your excuses. Everyone has them. You just need to figure out a way around it, and there are ways around it for sure. The pay-to-play system, I think, collectively, people in the soccer community can try to change that. I know I'll advocate for changes to be made, but on an individual level, it's up to you to take responsibility for your life. Pay to play isn't going to change in the next 5 years. It's not going to change in the next, I won't go further than that. Hopefully we can make some changes, but it's not going to change if you're, 14 and watching this or listening to this. It's not going to change by the time you graduate high school. So, you need to figure out a way around it now. And there are ways if you get a little bit creative and work hard.
Yeah, I totally agree. There's always a way around it. Now, I wanted your in opinion on this, which might be the first thing that we disagree on, which is I think you already know, like stretching and foam rolling. So like, what do
Uh,
you think about that?
all right. So, based on what I've seen, um, foam rolling doesn't provide any additional benefits if you do a good warm up before you exercise and a good cool down. So if you want to foam roll, be my guest.
Yeah,
I was forced to foam roll when I was a player. I found it absolutely miserable. Um, and I for and I think based on the evidence, it's a waste of time if you warm up and cool down. So if you enjoy it now, that's fine, and you can do that.
yeah,
Uh, but I don't recommend it for players in general because, generally speaking, it doesn't provide any additional benefits.
yeah.
But yeah,
If I can
that's my
add on
take.
to that, I think you kind of have a point because when we were talking about it, you were like, there's not enough studies done, or the studies don't show that stretching or like perhaps foam rolling actually increases like risk of injury and mobility and stuff. And I've been doing some research on my own, and like everyone is basically saying there isn't enough studies or proper studies on this to actually prove the point that it increases your performance, improves mobility, decreases risk of inflammation. So I think you're kind of right. But as you said, like if you like it, if you like stretching, if you like foam rolling, keep doing it. No one is stopping you.
Yeah, no, I mean, look, I enjoy taking baths. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not going to tell someone to take a bath if they
Yeah.
don't enjoy it. But like, someone might enjoy, you know, uh, I don't know, playing an hour of video games a day or something, or more than that.
Yeah.
But as long as it's not interfering with other stuff, do the things that you enjoy. And if you like foam rolling, by all means, that's fine.
Yeah.
I haven't found any evidence that foam rolling is harmful. I just question the mechanics by which it would help. And then also, there's not enough evidence to say it does. Now, stretching, we can do stretching as well. So static stretching before exercise, I would say no. I went as far as, to tell coaches I worked with, we're not doing static stretching before, or coaches I knew well. We're not doing static stretching before warm-ups, during the warm-up and stuff. And, all right. But yeah, static stretching before training sessions is a no. Now, from what I've seen, say I don't know, what's a stretch? Say like you wanted to be able to do a split. You need to
Yeah.
stretch for that, right? Now, doing a split isn't going to make you better at anything except doing a split. I haven't seen evidence that, increasing your mobility in this way would help your performance on the field. I do, dynamic stretching with my players before and after training sessions. I think static stretching, you can do that away from the field. You could do that after games if you find it helpful for you personally. But again, I don't recommend it to players that I work with generally, unless they enjoy that. If they want to do that in their own time, that's fine. It's not something I program for them because I haven't seen enough evidence to suggest that it would help them in any way. So it's just based on if they want to do it. I tell them, don't do it before exercise. You can do it after. You can do it at home. That's fine. And I know some athletes use stretching as kind of a meditation-ish thing. So, you'll do some yoga or something.
Yeah.
And if that helps you clear your mind, if you enjoy doing that, go for it. I think there are more important things that you can do to improve your performance. But I think that if you enjoy doing that on a personal level, go for it. That's fine. Did you see my what was it from yesterday afternoon? My TikTok.
I don't think I have. What was it about?
Oh, ice baths, foam rolling, supplements.
Did you just straight up
Buffalo
like diss them up this time?
yeah. So yeah, we can. I'll touch on the other ones really, really quickly
Okay.
as well, because ice baths, I would say, is probably there's a reason I put that first in the video of things that don't work, and it's because it's actively harmful. So the only time I would recommend a player take an ice bath is if they had a game, and then within
Yeah.
like 3-4 hours of that game, they had another game. I wouldn't even do it for training session to training session, because, if you perform a little bit worse in the second training session, I'm willing to take that in return for better recovery after those training sessions.
Yeah.
So a lot of people bring up that taking an ice bath reduces inflammation, and helps with, reduces
Yeah.
inflammation is the main one that I've seen. Now, that inflammation after a training session, that's your body recovering. Like, it's actually important that you do have a little bit of
It's like the
inflammation.
muscle fibers tearing up. It's like when you work out,
Yeah.
lose
So,
resistance.
yeah, you don't want to kind of get in the way of that process.
Yeah.
Now, if you're in a game and you like sprain your ankle or something and you want to go off and get some biofreeze and put it on so that you can play again. Now, I wouldn't recommend this for younger players because I don't want, you to play when you're injured, but I've done that, and if you're playing at a high level, I understand that it's important to play through a little bit of pain. That's fine. So doing something like that as a short fix, go for it. If your ankle or your knee is a balloon, which has happened to me more times than I can count,
Wow.
like getting some ice on that is not the worst thing in the world.
Yeah.
Now, I don't think it's the most helpful thing in the world. Swelling usually goes down, but that's like a different situation. But just general soreness after a training session, ice baths are going to hurt your recovery, not help it. Already talked about foam rolling.
Yeah.
Supplements, like 1% of supplements are effective. I only take 2 supplements myself. I take creatine and I take ashwagandha. I think those are both relatively cheap. They have a lot of evidence behind them. There aren't any other supplements that I'd recommend at the moment. I mean, maybe a few, but I don't think for soccer players, at least, I haven't seen any evidence for other ones being, super effective. And I think that most of them, you're just kind of throwing away your money. The reason that I take ashwagandha and creatine because they're both relatively cheap, in addition to having a lot of evidence behind them. And then the last one, muscle activation. Very briefly, your muscles aren't inactive; they're just weak. Leave the resistance bands off the field. If you don't have access to a gym, you want to do body weight movements or banded exercises instead. That's fine. I use bands in my own resistance training, but I'm not using bands to wake up my glutes. I'm using bands to get stronger. And then when I go on the field, I do a dynamic warm up and I get into the technical work. I don't try to, activate my my muscles.
Yeah, I'm sure what you're saying makes sense about like ice baths, supplements, and resistant bands, and I kind of agree with all of those. I don't have enough information on ice bath and like supplements to make any kind of argument. But the one place I would make an argument like is stretching right before practices, which I agree. Like I don't think it's good to stretch right before practices. I'm more of a fan of dynamic warm-ups, like high knees, go back and forth, just run, just get your muscles warmed up. But I think like a mobility routine before like wait like
Like a couple hours before.
hours, yeah, before practice or after could be beneficial, even though it's not like game realistic. Like you said, like if you do the splits, you're not going to do the splits in a game, so it's not really useful. But I think where that comes in is if you do the splits, you're flexible, your joints and like muscles do have a good range of motion, so maybe that could like help you on the field when you shoot or you move your leg sideways and stuff.
Yeah. So, I mean, as I said, I prefer just to, get on the field and do things that are a little bit more specific.
Yeah,
But
for sure.
for individual players, I know Zlatan does like taekwondo and all of that stuff. And, if it works for an individual player, it works for an individual player. So, I recommend players try out things
Yeah.
for themselves, and if a player finds out that having a, yoga session or a stretching session a couple hours or an hour before training helps them individually, then, go for it.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm not gonna tell players to not do something that they think works for them unless I know that it is
Yeah.
harmful. So, if a player is taking an ice bath after training,
Yeah.
they're my player, I will say, don't do that. Here's the evidence. I would very much like it if you didn't do that for your own good, but I understand if you
Yeah, for
go away and
sure.
do it at home
I'm
with your
glad
kid.
you have that mindset. Like, if you
Yeah,
want, do it. And
yeah.
you're not like, if you do it, like, your career's over. I'm not gonna coach you or
No,
anything. I'm glad you have
no,
that kind
no,
of
we're
mindset.
all or nothing
Yeah, yeah, all
mentality.
or nothing. Yeah.
Very, we've come full circle. Yeah, I mean, it's different players do different things. Different
Yeah.
things work for different players. But I'm I I honestly just want to help players. So,
Yeah.
I'm if something's harmful, I'll tell players that it is. If something is probably just a waste of time, I'll tell them, you're not hurting yourself. This is probably a waste of time. You can use this more
Yeah,
effectively,
for sure.
get an extra hour of sleep or something. But if you
Yeah.
want to do that, go for it.
Yeah. So we're almost done, the whole podcast. So I just have some questions from my community that I asked on TikTok and Instagram. And I'm just gonna like ask you the questions. Let me know what you think
Okay.
about them. So
Yeah.
first question from TikTok. We have, I don't know what name that is, Brudoro Safen, which is which is what
Yeah,
step.
there are some
Yeah,
good
there's
memes
some
on
weird
TikTok.
usernames out there.
I've seen some, I'm replying to a comment and then I look at the name and I'm like, oh my God.
So he says, what separates a good CDM or CM from a great CDM?
So I would say doing the simple things perfectly. So it's not going to be like, a great CDM does this that's completely different to a good CDM. What I would say is that they do the simple things more consistently.
For
So
sure.
every pass is good.
Okay.
Probably more fit to cover more ground. They're always there to be that supporting pass to play back to. Their first touch is always good. They're always in the right position to stop a counterattack. It's just being more consistent, especially in the middle of the field there. Consistency in your plays is what matters, and that doesn't mean that you're not going to make mistakes. Even great center defensive mids, even Conte and Casemiro and all those guys, they'll have games. They'll have worse games. They'll have moments where they make mistakes. But if you look at the overall picture, I would say the consistency is probably what sets them apart from the people that are behind them.
Yeah, I think you answered that very well. I agree. Next question is best qualities a coach looks for in a striker.
So
I think this is kind of like the
obviously,
same answer, maybe.
yeah. Sorry.
I think like this is
Oh,
kind of like the
same
same thing, like just do the simple things better, like finishing and stuff like that.
Yeah. So, yeah, I would say as well that one thing or the most important thing that I look for in players, especially when I'm trying to pick players for my teams or evaluate players. So if I'm going to trials, which I've been doing a bit recently, the most important thing is that players do not take themselves out of the game, that they're always asking for the ball, that they always want the ball. I don't care how many mistakes you make. So as a striker, I had a player, I actually posted a video about this the other day. I had a player at a trial who missed many big chances, but they were always making those runs to put themselves in position. They were always asking for the ball. They always wanted to be on the ball. They always wanted to be playing, and they happened to miss a bunch of chances. Now, I can take that player and help them succeed in those situations, whether it's, technical improvement that they need, or whether it's maybe some confidence in front of goal. What is a lot more difficult is to take a player who won't even ask for the ball because they're afraid of making mistakes. So if you want to impress a coach, don't worry about making mistakes. Do not take yourself out of the game. Always want the ball. Put yourself in positions to ask for the ball. Ask for the ball, and then do your best when you have it. But don't worry about making mistakes. I wouldn't pick a striker just because they scored a bunch of goals. I would pick a striker for other reasons.
Okay. Yeah, again, that's a great answer in my opinion. Now, next question is by Jadhav, which I don't kind of understand this question, but maybe you do. For players, what's their diet? And for coaches, what kind of players do they need? So for coaches, what kind of players do they need? That's I think that's too broad. Like maybe if you're talking about a specific country or specific position, but for players, what's their diet? What will be your answer to that?
I mean, again, it's going to depend a lot on the individual. Yeah. I don't think there's one diet that all footballers should eat.
Yeah, for sure.
I think that, most people can be healthy eating things that they enjoy. Obviously, you want decent amount of protein, carbs, fats. You want to be eating vegetables, fruits, whole grains if you can. But I think you can make it stuff that you enjoy. So maybe for me, I would either have like something like oatmeal or Greek yogurt for breakfast. And then, my other meals, I would try as much as I could to, have, real food, not rely too much on like protein powder and that stuff. If you want to supplement that, that's fine. If you're not getting enough protein, that can help. But yeah, just getting, some protein, and some carbs and, vegetables, and eating plenty of fruits. I don't think it's that hard to have a decent diet for a footballer. Yeah. And I think, if you have a good diet or not.
Yeah, for sure.
I would say most of the time, if you tell yourself you're eating fine and you're not, deep down, you probably know.
Yeah. And I'm not sure if you saw this, but this guy on TikTok made like a video, like 3 foods you should never eat. And that kind of goes against it, but I totally agree with you. Yeah, that's
funny. Like there's everything in moderation, right?
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, great players who had their vices, but yeah, I don't tell players not to eat anything. Just what are your priorities? If you want to play at a very high level, you need to be eating, or you probably need to be eating fruits and vegetables, getting your protein, getting your carbs from good sources as much as you can. And then if you want to have some chocolate every once in a while, or sweets, or whatever else it is, you can do that. Just don't do it too much.
Yeah, for sure. So how much time do you have left? Because I have like 3 questions. We can just go over them quickly if that's fine.
Yeah, you can go through them.
Okay, so next one is, I don't know that username again. It's
as long as we finish by kickoff, we're good.
Oh yeah, for sure. When to tuck in and when to stay outside as a winger?
Start wide and see how the play progresses. I always tell, my wingers, I'm, screaming from the touchline for them to get wide. Start on the touchline. When your team wins the ball, get wide as possible, unless there's a very good reason to tuck in immediately, because another player is out of position maybe, or something like that. But most of the time, get wide and then see how the play progresses. So as your team moves down the field, that's when you can start to, cut inside. Obviously, if you have the ball, you can cut inside or stay wide. It's up to you. If you don't have the ball, though, as your team goes up the field, if the ball's on the other side, then you can start to tuck in a little bit. Maybe a cross will come in, and you can make an attacking run, or through ball or something like that. But then if the ball goes back in the middle, get wide. And if you don't get the ball, then we, start to tuck in maybe. And then obviously if your team loses the ball there, you should also tuck in for sure.
Yeah. So I actually wanted to ask you a question on this. What do you think about when we have the ball and the winger like tucks in so the fullback can make an overlapping run on the outside?
Okay. Yeah. No, that makes sense, of course. If you can pull someone in the middle and your fullback, they're going to make a run along the outside. That's great. I would still say, when your team wins the ball, get wide first.
Yeah, for sure.
And then we see what we're going to do from there.
Yeah.
Because you want to be an option for your team. And then if from that position you see your fullback going to make the run, you can pull their fullback in. If you make this diagonal run, then go for it.
Okay. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I totally agree. And then next question is, Christian said, I'm in Africa. How can I make it to Europe before I'm 19? I'm currently 15. And I could use a little help with getting trials.
Yeah, so I always get messages from players, asking for me to help them get trials. I do have a video on this on my YouTube channel. What I would say is get on a team. If you're not on a team now, you need to get on a team. Now from there, if you can, you need to prioritize a highlight video and a resume. And if you're over 16, I think you have to be 16 to have a LinkedIn profile. But once you're 16, a LinkedIn profile. Now, these three things are what is going to get you trials, especially if you're living somewhere far away. So like, you're not going to go from Africa to Europe just, on a whim. Like,
you
need
for sure.
to set up
probably
probably multiple trials if you're going to make that trip. So and you're going to need those three things. You're going to need a resume, you're going to need a highlight video, and you're going to need a LinkedIn profile. Well, you don't need a LinkedIn profile. I think LinkedIn is
really helpful.
Helpful platform because it's easier to find coaches and teams, and it's a little bit more of a professional way to reach out. If you find them on Instagram or something, like, fair enough, but I think LinkedIn's it's a better look for you, and they're more likely to respond to you. So I'd say prioritize those three things, get on a team, and try to work your way up. If you want to be in Europe by the time you're 19, you need to play for a team this year. You need to play for a better team next year. You need to play for a better team the year after, and a better team, and work your way up. You're not going to go from nothing to the best team that you could possibly play for. It doesn't work like that. You need to prove yourself. So, it's all about those small steps. And as you're taking those small steps, you build your resume, highlight video, LinkedIn profile, and you reach out to teams as soon as you have that stuff.
Yeah, for sure. If I can add on to that, I think for LinkedIn, it's really helpful because all it takes is one yes. Like, you may email like 50, 100 coaches, ask them to play with them, and one of them says, yeah, sure, we'd like to have you abroad just to try out for us. That's really helpful. And also, I think you mentioned this in one of your videos, which is try to succeed where you're at, and then you can think about moving on. Like, I see a lot of, especially young players, like, I'm going to go in Europe, I'm going to try for Portugal, Spain. I'm like, if you can't succeed here, you probably can succeed at those higher levels in Europe or whatever.
The grass is always greener, right? Like, it's not going to be easier over there. If you're having a tough time here, it's going to be tough over there as well. So don't, try to get on a high level team where you are before you, uproot your whole life to go to Europe for some trials, or, spend a lot of money on a plane ticket, places to stay. Because most of the teams you're trialing for, they're probably not going to pay for all of that stuff. So, take those small steps and build, rather than trying to, jump, right in. Build slowly.
Yeah, for sure. And then the last question by Jordi Messi. which is how do I structure a soccer session?
So I have a video on this called technical training for confidence on the field. So I'm assuming this would be for an individual session or like a small group
I think
session.
so.
Yeah. So now if I'm giving plans to younger players, they tend to be more structured. When I'm doing this for my own training or some of the more advanced players that I work with, it's more of just a general outline. But normally some sort of dynamic warm-up. Now, most of my warm-ups include a soccer ball. It's not, just going through dynamic stretches. Most of the time it's, group juggling and little passing variations, unopposed stuff. I find that this is actually often, a better warm up, more specific. You get touches on the ball right when you get on the field, and you build slowly. It's not like you're going to be, going through the passing progression at, 100% speed right off the bat. You're going to build through the progressions. So something like that, juggling or unopposed passing drills, and, or dribbling. That stuff I find really, really useful. Usually from there, if I can, I'll get into something like a rondo. So I had a session with 4 kids the other day, and we did a 3v1 rondo for 20, 30 minutes. It was great, high intensity, really, really good. But obviously, it's going to depend what you want to work on. If you have more kids, you can do other possession based things. If it's just you, that would be when you get into most of your technical work. So whether that's wall passing or first touch stuff, and from there, you can go into some other stuff. I like there's some 1v1 progressions that I like a lot. If you have a group, you can set up some really good passing variations to shooting, something like that. And then if you have enough people, I'd always end with some sort of opposed work. So, 2v2, 3v3, 5v5, whatever you can. Obviously, if you're alone, that's fine. You just, extend the technical work. And then if you want to do some fitness at the end, that's where I do it. Not at the beginning, I do it at the end.
Yeah, if I can add on to that. This is how I do it. Now, it may not be the best thing for every player, but I've seen Matt, Shelton, and all like the professional YouTubers do this as well. My camera's out of focus. Okay, it's good. I think it's good now. So what I do is I just do a warm up, like you said, and in the warm up is one touch passing. All this is like against the wall. So this is individual, which is 2 touch passing first, moderate intensity, and then 1 touch passing. And then I would usually do some wall juggling, which is still kind of in the warm-up. And then I would move on to dribbling. So for me, I'm mainly a defender. So dribbling isn't one of my main components where I need to excel. So I would do like 1 dribbling drill and I would do like 6 sets of it. And then I would move on to some agility stuff. And then I would focus on my main part of the game, which is game scenario drills for like fullbacks and defenders, which I include like all sorts of like passing, turning, pass 1-2, and then turn and play into the other side. And then I would usually finish off with 2 days out of the week, I would usually finish off with some high intensity interval training for like my stamina and my endurance.
Yeah. I think like it's a really good point that like the bulk of your session should be as game realistic as possible.
Yeah.
I saw a video the other day where it said like, what is more important, technical training or game realistic training? And the account, it's a good account. I wasn't trying to put them down or anything, but I made a little joke. I was like, how about technical or how about game realistic technical training? Because it's not like game realistic training isn't technical. Every time you pass, every time you play a pass, yes, I understand, when you're doing a group session, or when you're training or when I'm training my teams, we do stuff that isn't super game realistic because I want them to get reps of passing and first touch and shooting or whatever else in. But at the same time, we're training for games. Most of the stuff is going to be as game realistic as I can make it. That's what you're training for.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, that's it. That's basically it. The whole podcast. So
all right, nice.
if they want to find you, where can they contact you?
So I'm on TikTok, Coach Cristo, also on YouTube, with the same name, Coach Cristo. And then you can find me on Instagram. It's Coach Cristo Manginis, Manginis. And then also on Patreon, I post full programs, and I do I've done a bunch of TikTok live training sessions, and the full videos of that. 2 are already on my Patreon. I'm trying to edit the last one, but it's been a bit of a nightmare because I literally deleted the file as I was uploading it to YouTube. But yeah, I post full training plans on there: technical, mental training, resistance training, physical training. I have a full off-season program that I just posted. And then you can watch some longer videos of me doing some training sessions as well.
All right. Well, thanks for being a guest on my podcast. Really appreciate it. Thanks for taking the time.
Yeah.
And
thank you.
that's it.
All right. Awesome.
All right.